Jnane Jiva Seva. These are the mantras given by him. And his very presence evoked self-confidence and determination. That's why we take him as our real guru and friend. His clarion call, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. This one is still resonating in the minds of so many people. So many leaders have come in this one. Say, for example, Subhash Chandra Bose or Bhagat Singh or Khudiram, all the freedom fighters, they were inspired by Swamiji's words. And then we are still dreaming that Bharat must once upon a time Vishwaguru. Again, it will become strong and independent and enlightened India once again. This dream also is that Swamiji has inspired in us. Today, we know that at least 50% of our young people, they are dreaming that one day our country will become glorious once again. And when Swamiji came, there was not a single person to think in that way. So it was Swamiji who inspired this, again, that, that ambition. Yes, we will get up, we will start walking, we will reach the goal, this one. Even today, his words are resonating everywhere. Because Swamiji said that whatever he is giving, no, it is like mantra. He is a Rishi of the modern age. He said, there are 3 points which make every person great, every nation great. That is, we have to believe in the conviction of the power of goodness, absence of jealousy and suspicion, helping all who are trying to be and to do good. See, what is happening is, we are thinking in a negative way from centuries and centuries. We have become a bundle of negative thoughts. It is so very difficult to remove the negative thoughts. It is just like lifting a table or chair is easier than lifting up the negative thoughts. It is like vicious thoughts going round and round and round. Swamiji wants to come out of that, and he wants us to be positive in thinking. The positiveness will give you the real purity. Then, the one definition that Swamiji gave, this is from Sri Ramakrishna only. He said, I have come for man-making or character-making. What is that? That manliness doesn't mean that women have to become man like that. Not like that. The manliness means manusha. This is the Sanskrit word. From that, the Bengali word is manhush. That Sri Ramakrishna used to interpret like this. The person in whom this consciousness is awakened, he is manush. From him, we can expect anything. Sri Ramakrishna has become a touchstone. Whomever he touched, he could inspire. He could awaken the spiritual power in him. Now, before Sri Ramakrishna passed away, he has passed on this power to Swamiji, and in Swamiji's life, we come across many, many times this power manifesting. So many times. There are so many stories about it. So 1 or 2 I can say, but I don't know how much time it will take. One or two I will just tell you. When he went around the country, he saw this miserable condition of the country, and he wanted to tell the kings, he wanted to awaken in them this feeling for the nation. He almost visited all the states, and many of the kings were impressed. But then, by the time he came to South, he understood that the time of the kings is over. Now it is students and the people who can do the work for the country. They have to rise the country. So that time he started addressing the students, the masses. And one thing wonderful about it is, Hyderabad, this was the first place where he gave his public address to about 1,000 people. This is the place where he gave the first address. And in Madras, he encountered a group of students and professors whom he could inspire. Some were very sarcastic. For example, one of the professors, his name was Singarvelu Mudaliar. He was a physics and mathematics teacher. He said, I don't believe on all these things. Still, the people said, now why don't you come and attend once what Swamiji is telling? So when he came with all the negative ideas. Oh, I will just show his emptiness. I will come and test him. So for this purpose he came. And when Swamiji started speaking, the people were so much enthralled that whole meeting, they became so silent that there was, even if a pin drops, you can hear. It was such like that. And the whole atmosphere was charged. But this man was determined to test Swamiji. At that time, Swamiji was telling the yogis can rise their mental level to such a place, even if they touch anybody, that they can transfer that spiritual atmosphere into them, spiritual power into them. This time, this Singarbelu Mudaliar, they used to call him Kidi, Swamiji used to call him Kidi. He came forward. He just walked. Nobody could move at that time, but he walked and he came near to Swamiji. And then Swamiji understood his purpose. He said, don't touch me. Don't touch me. If you touch, your family will be burnt. Even then he touched. In front of everybody, they saw that his whole body was shaking, as if an electric current was passing. And the whole life for Kidi was changed. He became a sannyasi afterwards, means his entire, that family feeling also was burnt off. So, the Swamiji carried such a strong power, spiritual power in him when he walked through the entire country. Swamiji gave this mantra, that is purity, patience and perseverance. And overall, Atma Vishwas means that he saw that we are in such a condition, miserable condition. The only thing that can rise us back was to develop Atma Vishwas, self-confidence. So we have to understand this inner divinity. It is a treasure trove of limitless power. We are not even aware of it. The country, starting from the Vedic ages, from the foreign, when he stood in Ramnath, I will come to that, the entire country stood up as one man to give him welcome, and they took his every word into their heart. These are the shlokas that he loved very much. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anadya ajustam asvargyam akirtikaram arjuna. That means, don't allow these weaknesses. You are not fit for that. We have no place here in this life or any other. The weakness leads to slavery. Weakness leads to all kinds of misery, physical and mental. You see, in our own body, there are so many from Mughals, Huns and Mughals, and then this one British, Portuguese, Dutch, whomever want to came in, they came in. And the real reason is we allowed this weakness. When the country became weak, just like when the body becomes weak, the disease takes place, not before that. Just like that, when the whole of country is submerged in superstition and weakness and infighting and all these things, then only the invasion took place. Swamiji said, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. He said that you have to put up goal in your life. That means we have to put up some goal. Yes, you can have two types of goals. Immediate goal, what you want to achieve, I want to become a good doctor or engineer or whatever it may be. That is one thing. There is another supreme goal for everybody, for everyone, not only for the sadhus. See, we are all like as if a compressed spring is sitting in each one of us. And the spring is compressed. So what this spring is doing, the spring starts expanding. It can't sit quietly. The same way, every one of us, we are having that Sat Chit Ananda Swarup inside us. It is like a compressed spring, and it is trying to expand and expand and expand and take you to the ultimate goal. It won't allow you to sit quietly. See, even if you are a small, that is how from amoeba, it becomes a bird and animal, and finally it takes the place of human being. Then also maybe it is a, Rakshas man, that is a demon man, and then man as a human being, man, and then man as a divine. So this evolution takes place because of this something inherent evolution, inherent this thing we are having, which won't allow you to sit quietly. It will always make you dissatisfied. Say, you also think for yourself. Suppose you have done something. Say, let us say you have got first in your class. Are you satisfied? Then you may be happy for a few minutes. And the next you will be thinking again what you will do next. You can't be happy there. Somebody has got a post of a, let us say, a manager. He will be thinking, when I will become CEO, when I will be thinking I will become that page, when I will own the factory, and somebody is making money, he will say, no, I am not satisfied with this money. I want to get more, get more. Like that, everybody is dissatisfied. Why? Why? There is a secret here. We are all trying to get something. We don't know what. And we are not satisfied after getting that. However much we try, once you get that one, we are not interested in that anymore. We will think of something else. Because ultimately, we are that Satchidananda, and we can never be satisfied with the small things. That is what Swamiji said. See, this picture also says the same thing. The immediate goals may be like that. There is nothing wrong in setting the goals. We can have the building, we can have the good houses, we can have this and we can have that. That is immediate goal. In our dharma, our religion, it says dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That means you can do anything with dharma, you can attain anything, you can get anything, but you do it in a righteous way, not in the wrong way. But ultimate goal is moksha. That is supreme goal. The Swamiji, when he addressed Amritasya Putra, Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu, the children of immortal bliss, in the Parliament of Religion, there was a wonderful response. Not because it was simply words, it is because it was coming from an enlightened soul. You see, you just visualize Swamiji addressing there. The one thing wonderful about it was, the scientists were more attracted towards Swamiji than the religious people. The so-called other padris and others, they did not like it because they always thought, you are the sinners, you are the sinners, you are doing sin. We have to ask for the, pardon from the Supreme. But then Swamiji was the first person to say, no, you are the children of immortal bliss. Sinners, it is a sin to call man so. You are not the sinners. So, scientists were so very happy about that. They even took Swamiji to their parliament, that was Electric Congress. They had his session one after another. As soon as he could get a little bit time from the Parliament of Religion, immediately they were inviting him to the Science Congress. That time, the president of the Electric Congress or Science Congress was Mary Melville Snell, and all the famous scientists were present. Edison or Tesla, everyone were present. So it was something very thrilling for them because they were fed up by thinking sinners, sinners. They were not interested in that. They were a little bit rational thinking people. So they liked Swamiji's words very much. So this was Swamiji's, what to say, he just by his words, it acted like such a thunderbolt. He carried in him such a power. When somebody asked him in India, Swamiji, how many disciples you had in foreign? He said, oh, thousands and thousands. Then they were surprised because we are also surprised because we know that Swamiji did not initiate like that. But Swamiji knew it because Swamiji's very words were mantras. When he spoke that, when he spoke such words, it just carried them to such heights you can't imagine. So, in one lady gives a very good description. She says, when Swamiji entered the hall was almost full. It was so full that the people did not have place to sit. They were even sitting on the basins, and some were standing on the staircase, and some were even standing on the roads. In the roads, those who were standing, they couldn't hear anything. They were hearing only humming sound of Swamiji's voice. That also they were standing just to hear. And then when Swamiji started speaking, everybody says that he was so handsome to look. But I say that as soon as he started speaking, his form disappeared. The voice alone was ringing in the void. And we were lifted up. We were lifted up to such heights, she says, that we forgot everything. It was as if the heavens gate were swung open and we walked in. So that was the experience of them. And she says that when I came back, I saw the hall was empty. That means she had that spiritual experience simply by listening to him. So Swamiji always stressed that don't have a very selfish goal. Don't lead a selfish life. See, when a person becomes too self-centered, it is like we are binding ourselves in a prison. The walls of prison will close upon us. And our world becomes so small that you can't even imagine. You can't even break open that one. You will suffer like anything. You will get suffocated. A self-centered person hates himself, finally, and you will get suffocated. Only when we start doing work for others, we will start expanding. That's what that mother's example she gave, no? Once you start doing for others, your small eye will open up and it will expand and expand, and that time you will get the real joy in the life. Swamiji had that intense love for the country. So wherever he went, for example, when first day, when he had that fame, so many people were after him. They say that all the 6,000 people got up and gave such an ovation. At the end of the meeting, almost all of them walked, most of them on the benches also, just to touch the hem of his cloth. Then an old lady who was sitting there, she says, I told myself, my lad, if you can face this onslaught, then you must be really God. Then I saw that he was taking it like a small child with such simplicity. Then I thought that the God must have come down to earth. That's why she took his photo and went back to her home just to say that this is the God who has come to us and come back to this one. If ever Jesus has come to earth, it is He, it is He. This is her idea. So this is what happened there. But then what happened to Swamiji? Was he happy with all these things? When he came back to his room in the night, it was a luxurious room. People were rich people. They kept him there. The bed was also very nice, but he could not sleep. He could not sleep on the bed. He got down and cried whole night. Why? Because he felt so miserable thinking of our country. He said, when my country people, when my people are so miserable, how can I sleep? How can I have any joy in the life? So he was inside, he was all the time, he was weeping for the country. So it was not his tears. Somebody says it was his blood. It was not tears. So, when when we form character, it is like bricks. And Swamiji wanted to cement these bricks, and build the country. When we all come together, those who are having good characters, the nation will be built. So that this just as strong bricks reinforced with concrete and iron create a sturdy building, a nation is built by individuals of character, bound together by fraternity and unwavering loyalty to the motherland. So when we think of this one, see, when you are self-centered man is like a dehatma, means body is everything for them. But when we start expanding and doing for others, then will come Deshatma Bodh. Our mind and our consciousness will expand to include all of the people. You will see all on my own. That time this Deshatma Bodh will come. So Vishwatma Bodh is even higher than that. For rebuilding Bharat, the Swamiji had this underlying current going on in his life. That was three things: Shastras, Guru, and motherland. The Shastras, we had a vast repository of the eternal spiritual literature or wisdom, which Swamiji inherited from Sri Ramakrishna, and he became the Bharatatma, that means he became the wisdom of this entire country for thousands of years, what they have practiced. So, this Sri Ramakrishna, who embodied himself in himself, this spiritual knowledge, has transferred it to Swamiji. Another beautiful anecdote which I have read in this one, in Mary Louise Burke's a vast book on Swamiji, she says, when Swamiji actually started from Kanyakumari, he was thinking of our own country. The book was opened only up to that. He knew that I have got a mission for the country. I have to do this much. That's what he understood. But then when he went to West, it was like a spring appearing in the desert, that too a nectar appearing in the desert. Why? Because they were eager for the spiritual wisdom of the country. He faced there a different world altogether. A new chapter in his life was open. And then he became there the world teacher. He didn't know that these are all waiting for him. There he say, the Mary Louise Burke says, he knocked our door and the doors were open, the hearts were open, the heart was open and the heart was open for him. We looked upon him as our own brother, our own person who came back to our house. and he was so dear and near to us. So he was carrying the Indian spiritual wisdom, what is Brahmagyani. That is why wherever he went, everyone looked upon him as the nearest and dearest person. So this is what he got in the West. That is all because of the his spiritual wisdom that he had. And then his motherland, Bharat, was supreme in his eyes, supreme. And wherever he went, he instilled the love for the country. And when the Westerners asked him, Swamiji, what we can do for you? How can we help you? Then Swamiji's only answer was, love India. Love my country. Love India. Our country, Bharat, we say Bharata. That means, Bha means the light of knowledge. Rata means those who love the light of knowledge. See, this is our adjective. This is our real introduction of our country. It is not India. India has no meaning actually. The word India has no meaning. Bharat has all the meaning in that. Bharat means those who love the light of knowledge. So when we say we are Bharatiya, see, even in our Puranas, it is not created by British or this and that. Thousands and thousands of years back, our mythical, our Puranic stories, or even our Vedas, they mention very beautifully a land that is spread from the Asamudra Himalaya Paryanto. That means starting from the oceans up to Himalayas, the land that is spread is called Bharat, and all the children of Bharat are called Bharatiya, Bharat Santati, like this. So beautifully they have written. So nobody can question. This India word was not there. India has come recently because Arabians, they could not pronounce this one. They were saying that those people who are after Sindhu river. So they call this one Hindu. Hindu, and then from Hindu it became Hindu, and then Indus, and then from there India. So that's how the whole thing, the word was started into India, but it was not the real word. So we have to call ourselves as Bharatiya, and we have to be proud to be an Indian. See, even now, the whole of the world has started recognizing the potential of India. One of the scientists has commented, the day that Indians are proud of themselves, the India will rise to the top of the world and nobody can stop it. And Swamiji is waiting to see that day when all of us will have so much love for the country that we will devote ourselves, dedicate ourselves, because generations have to dedicate ourselves to again regain this glory. Once upon a time, our country was so rich, it was called Sone ki Chidiya. Even up to 17th century, the GDP of our country was highest. That is why all these people, I want to call them dacoits only, they came to India, whether it is Portuguese or Dutch or British or Mughals or whoever it may be, they came just to rob us. Sister Nivedita says very beautifully that, see, the whole of our country was meditating. She was so cultured. She was immersed in her spiritual and cultural activities. And she never thought such a Berbers or barbarians can be there. And her motto was Atiti Devo Bhava. So whoever comes, she was inviting like a honorable guest. But what happened? These guests came with the guns to shoot us and to kill us and to rob us. So that was the treacherous condition that Swamiji went through. And that tortured his mind so much. He is dreaming such a big dream that one day India will rise to Vishwaguru again, and you, the future generation of India, you are supposed to do it, and Swamiji will definitely bless you for that. And whoever works for this, Swamiji's spirit will work through him. So you know the Kanyakumari's whole story. I won't tell you again. See, in all the past time, when the rishis were doing tapasya, we say there were apsaras, Menaka, and this and that. They were disturbing the tapasya. But who was disturbing Swamiji's tapasya on the Kanyakumari rock? What we call Vivekananda rock. He stayed there 3 days and 3 nights immersed in meditation. Do you know what was the theme? Who disturbed him? Who disturbed him? It was not on the Supreme God he thought. He was meditating on Mother India. It was Mother India's miseries that disturbed him. So Swamiji was that modern rishi, was disturbed by Mother India. The day and night he thought of her, and this whole history, thousands of years of history flashed through his mind's eye, right from the ideal kingdom of Rama, Krishna and others, and again up to these latest foreign invaders, Huns, Mongols and Portuguese and then British, and the long dark age of invasion. So Swamiji had this mission that he said, let all the vain gods disappear for the next 50 years. This alone be your God, that is Mother India. Our own people, their eyes and their heads are everywhere. That is what we say, Sahasra Shisha Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapad. This alone be your God, this motherland of ours. So once again, he dreamt that Mother India will become Vishwaguru once again. And the people who have lost dharma and shraddha, we have to regain it and get back to that. So when he said, my India arise, so we have to respond to that, his clarion call. All of you, and Swamiji is waiting for that. He said a wonderful story, I will tell you, and with that I will finish. Education is one of the things. See, Swamiji always said, I will be a voice without form. Even if I leave my body, I will continue working. One small story, you just listen to me attentively. This one is a wonderful story which you have never heard. See, when Swamiji came back from the foreign, his classmate, his childhood friend, came to meet him. His name was Satkudi Bandyopadhyay. Then Swamiji, when he was, Satkudi was always thinking, Swamiji must become very proud that he got this or he got such a fame, and how he will recognize us. We were only childhood friends. But when he came, Swamiji said, Satu, you are that Satu now. I am that same Naren. And Satu said, in his mentally, say, he said, okay, you are same Naren. But then he was speaking to himself, no, you have become God. Then after some time, Swamiji said, see Satu, you see the country like this, but after 100 years it will not be like this. So many of our young men and young women, they will be just thrown away by this materialistic culture, that Bhogwad. The whole country will be flooded away. All of your culture and heritage and tradition will be flooded away. Nothing will remain. Who will save the country? Who will save the country? Then Satu said, oh, Bhagavan will save the country. Then Swamiji said, oh, you are a Brahmin boy, so you will say Bhagavan, Bhagavan only. Then Satu was surprised. He said, oh, then he has become very proud. And then Swamiji said, you know who is going to save? It is me, Vivekananda. Then when he said this, Satu became really surprised. Has he become so proud? Then Swamiji said, not this small Vivekananda. listen to me. See, all the children and the girls and boys who will come after 100 years, they will be taking my inspiration. They will work for me. They will take this Ramakrishna Bhav. And when they all come together, with all their small eyes, I will grow into a huge eye, cosmic Vivekananda. That is going to save the country. So this one, Swamiji said, and he is looking at you. So all of us, we will together make a cosmic Vivekananda. That one you remember? And Swamiji is expecting that. Swamiji has foreseen that. Swamiji has seen in his vision that country is coming up again and it is standing up again. The glorious future is ahead. And that Vivekananda, we belong to that cosmic Vivekananda. Thank you, all of you.